Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a fabulous day. Thanks for joining me. Today we are going to do card number 17 of the Countdown to Christmas series. We're going to make two of them, so 2 for 1 today. We're using some products from Paper Rose and their dies. Originally I was going to use both of these dies to create one card, but we're going to use each one of these to create 2 different cards with the same layout. I have the Mistletoe small die, and then I also have the Stitched Holly die set. The Mistletoe I thought was really pretty, and then the Stitched Holly, I already had a Holly and Berry die set that I loved. I think it was from C&CT, but I must have swept it up with when I was cleaning up one year, because I couldn't find it for the life of me. I don't know if it was a packing error or what. So I ended up picking up this from the Paper Rose, and I love it because it has stitch detail on there. So new favorite. So I separated the dies, and now we are going to do a little bit of ink blending. So I have 2 pieces of, you can use Bristol smooth cardstock, but since we're die cutting, I'm just going to use some Neenah 80-pound cardstock. Now we're going to do some ink blotching. I like doing this when I die cut images because it gives different colors on my die cut pieces. So I started off with peeled paint, and then I'm going to add a little different shading with some bundled sage here. Just kind of adding different blotchy areas. So when I die cut out, you have some different shades of green. I didn't want to bring in Vintage Photo. I thought that would be a little too dark. So I ended up using pumice stone, adding a little bit of color with this too. So there's actually 3 colors in this, and it kind of lightens it up a little bit too. It takes it from the darker greens and pulls it up to a little bit more of a lighter green. So we're going to use that one with our Mistletoe. And then for this panel, we're going to take a couple more shades of green oxide inks. I have Mowed Lawn. We're just going to add some color. We're keeping to the left of this panel because we want to save some room for our berries on the right. I was going to use Twisted Citron and thought that might be a little bit too light. So I'm going to bring in more peeled paint and add a little bit of a darker color to this one. This is where we're going to die cut out our stitched holly leaves here. Okay, after we have that side done, we're bringing in some red inks for our berries. We are going to add some color to our panel with some festive berries. And then I'm going to do a little shading with my aged mahogany. I love this color combination for berries because it adds a little bit of a smokiness, I guess, to your card, kind of making it look a little bit of vintage. Okay, we're going to straighten up our panels, and I have my water bottle. We're going to add some water droplets, and I'm going to use a towel and kind of tap off the excess water. I do know that when you die cut out, you want your panels to be really dry when you do this, because if you add your dies on top of a damp panel, your die cut images could break when you die cut them out and try to take them out of the die. And I know this because I've did it so many times. I was a little impatient. I just used my heat gun to finish drying my panels, and so we're good to go. I'm going to die cut out as many berries and mistletoe leaves and holly leaves as I can with those panels. And then after I have that done, we'll set them off to the side, and we are going to emboss 2 sheets of white cardstock using this embossing folder. It's like a Plaid embossing folder from Fun Stamper's Journey. And I did 2 of those panels. I did trim off about a ½ an inch off of my panel because we're going to add some pattern paper as an accent. You can see there I have 2 circle frames. These are actually scratch paper, and I thought we'd put the good use for today's card. Before we do anything else, we want to stamp our sentiment. I'm bringing in some black cardstock for that, and I'm using 2 of the Stamp and Cut sets from Hero Arts. Love these sets, guys. And Hero Arts has lots of them. I have the Merry and the Joy, and then there's Thanks, there's I think a Hello, just lots of the Stamp and Cut sets. I like them because there's sentiments that go with it, and if you want to stamp and then die cut out, the Joy matches the Joy in the stamp set. So I have the Joy and the Merry. We're going to die cut those out with black cardstock. For the joy, I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says peace, love, and then for the Merry here, we're going to stamp two parts. Have yourself a, and then we're going to stamp Little Christmas. I'm going to stamp with my Versamark ink, and you can see I powdered up my black cardstock really well. I didn't want my embossing powder to have any static on it. And we're going to add our white embossing powder. And my bottom one didn't turn out too good, so I re-stamped it. I heat set it, and so we are good to go. We're going to die cut out our joy and our Merry, and then I'm going to block off the rest of those little sentiments so they're good to go. Once these are done, we are going to, I wanted to create some super extra large wreaths, but not complete circles. That's why I have these circles, kind of as a template. You're probably not going to be able to see them on a card. I'm just using them as a guide, and I think it's going to be easier to add foam adhesive behind. But I'm taking the mistletoe with the largest circle frame here, and I'm just going to glue this over the top of it. And then I'm going to just continue it with the second piece, add a glue, and I'm just adding glue along the spine of the mistletoe here, kind of trailing around the circle here. And I think I'm going to need one more little piece just so it fits on my card the way I want it. Okay, we are going to grab some foam adhesive, and I was going to go ahead and add the berries to this one now, but I wanted to make sure that my wreath is going to fit on my panel first. So I wanted it kind of up in the corner a little bit, just maybe showing like a quarter of a super big wreath. I thought that would be so pretty, and I think this is going to work out well. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and add our holly leaves to the smaller circle, and this one is not a perfect shape, and that's okay. We're going to end up trimming off the excess, but I'm going to add glue directly to my circle frame here, and we're going to basically do the same thing that we did with the mistletoe, just kind of placing our holly leaves along our frame, spreading them out. There are little gaps, but that's okay. We're going to fill those gaps in with our berries, so I wasn't too concerned about that. But we're just going to go ahead and place, trying to make it so all the colors kind of skip over each other. Okay, once we have this done, I'm going to go ahead and I trimmed down some very thin strips of foam adhesive. We're going to go ahead and add adhesive just behind the areas that have the leaves. And I'm adding it with the backing, the release paper on it. Sometimes it's easier just to remove the release paper when you go around a circle, but I'll just remove that. And then our mistletoe's done. We'll do the same thing. Flip over our holly wreath here and add some foam adhesive. This is going to give me some dimension on the cards that I like. I love dimension on my cards. I just think it adds something to them. You don't need to add foam adhesive if you don't want to, guys. I think it'd make a beautiful card without it. Okay, these are good to go. I'm going to go ahead and adhere these to our embossed panels, and well, it barely fits, and I'm glad I put in a half of that extra piece there on top, and I think that worked out really well. So there's 3.5 pieces of the mistletoe. The excess I'm going to trim off, trying not to trim off the leaf that's overhanging here. We'll pick that up and then cut to the edge of our panel. Do the same thing with the top here. And then that one's good, and then we'll do the same exact thing to our other panel. Basically the same layout. Since this is a smaller circle, you're going to be able to see the circle shape. It's basically going to be half of a wreath, and that's okay. I think we're going to use the joy for the mistletoe and the Merry for our holly leaves here. We're going to add these. I should have actually maybe die cut out a few more, but I think I can get away with this. The very top we can add a holly berry to with that open area. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flip over my little joy here. We're going to add some very thin strips of foam adhesive behind this. This is going to add a little bit of dimension. And then this is going to go on our top panel, and then I'll do the same thing with the Merry. So our top panel says peace, love, and joy, and then our bottom panel will say have yourself a merry little Christmas. I love that sentiment. Okay, I'm taking some very small foam squares and adding them around the wreath where I want the berries. I found this easier because I can kind of place where I want the berries just by adding the foam adhesive first. And then sometimes the berries can help make your circle a little bit more circular. You can see here the top of my wreath is kind of flattened. Didn't like it at all. So I'm going to pick up this berry and pull it up a little bit. And I still wasn't happy. Kind of looked like an odd shaped wreath. So we're going to just take this very end berry and put that on the very top. And I'm happier with that. Okay. Still a little off, but I think it's okay. Now we'll add the berries the same way. I'm going to add the foam squares directly to the wreath and then add the berries after they're adhered. Kind of do an opposite that I normally do. Normally you add the adhesive behind your element and then stick it down, but I did it kind of backwards, but that's okay. Okay, now I'm going to bring in, I was going to bring in some red pattern paper, pull out that red from the berries, but when I came across this buffalo print, I thought, you know what? I think this will be so, I guess I'm in this year, if you haven't guessed it yet, I'm into the black and white, and I'm also into the very bright colors for my Christmas projects. I guess you can kind of tell what my wrapping paper is going to be this year. Okay, we're going to add adhesive to the top of these strips. Basically, I'm going to have maybe about 1/2 of an inch showing on the left of each one of these panels. I adhered it, and then we're going to go ahead and adhere these panels directly to an A2 size card base. And I love the way it looks. And then for bells and whistles, I'm not going to do much. I just want to add a little bit of sparkle. So I'm using some of the diamond stickles from Ranger. And I am using my ebony black Nouveau crystal drops to dot the eye of my joy. I had it set aside and I thought I can't lose this little dot to the joy, and I did lose it. So next best thing is Nouveau ebony black crystal drops for that. But adding my little sparkle, and then those are my projects for today. This is day 17 of my Countdown to Christmas series. I hope you enjoyed my projects. I know people have asked where do you find the rest of the Christmas series. If you go to my YouTube channel and go under the playlist, you'll see Countdown to Christmas, and that'll have from day 1 all the way to day 17 if you want to check out the ones. And then I'll also at the end here, I'll add a couple of last year's if you want to check those out. But thank you so much for joining me. Have a fabulous day, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.